morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Well, a proud moment for us here living in the UAE residents and citizens. The UAE is now number one globally when it comes to vaccinating medically eligible residents against COVID-19. Basically, the UAE has vaccinated the highest number of people so far. The country has achieved a vaccine distribution rate of 24.5 doses per 100 people in this particular category, according to the National Emergency Crisis and Disaster Management Authority. And this was announced yesterday, actually. So in more specific numbers, the UAE vaccinated about 131,939 residents against COVID-19 just in the past 24 hours. The total doses administered now stands at 1.79 million. That's about 1.8 million people so far have been vaccinated here in the UAE. When it comes to overall vaccine administration, the UAE is number 2 globally, with a dose administration rate of 18.18 per 100 people. Only another country has administered more doses per 100 people at 25.35, which is not a big difference. So in contrast, the vaccination rates, for example, in the UK and US stand at 5.42 and 3.71 respectively, according to Our World in Data website that tracks vaccination rates run by researchers at the University of Oxford.
Yeah, Rania, and it's important here to have a high vaccination rate. This is what the UAE health authorities have been stating. And the aim here for the country is to vaccinate more than half of its population before the end of March. They are hoping that this rapid rollout of the vaccine would stem and reverse this recent surge in the number of coronavirus infections. We're seeing over 3,000 every day. And this would allow the UAE's economy to avoid lockdowns and closures, which have paralyzed both Europe and the United States as far as their economies and the functioning of their governments as well. And the UAE government has continued to iterate that taking the vaccine is every individual's responsibility to protect their health, to protect their family, and to protect our wider society. And we've seen photos of senior government members of the UAE, rulers of various emirates as well, taking those vaccine shots and cementing the confidence in the vaccines that have been rolling out in the country as well. A joint effort by everybody involved. And the call remains to the public to reassure them of the safety of the vaccine and to remind them of their obligation in order to keep everybody else safe and secure as well.
It's amazing of how things have been going, and a lot more people that we know are now getting vaccinated. We hear from influencers, the social media influencers, going down for it. My barber got himself vaccinated, and I had a chat with him yesterday, and he told me that his company made him do it, so he went along.
A lot of companies are doing that.
Yeah, a lot of companies are doing that, so it's always good and safe, and I believe in that as well. So just in case you feel a little bit dizzy or unwell, you can tell your company, hey, look, this is what happened, and I know you made me do it, so I feel this way, so the company can understand you and give you that leeway, so that's okay. That's always a safe bet. But my barber, he told me that he went down to one of the medical centers in Dubai, for example. Al Ittihad Medical Center, a very popular one where people have been queuing up and queues have been forming.
Right.
And it gets busy at night, it gets busy during the day, and it just so goes to show how willing people are. And for my barber, he's always been in this mindset that okay, coronavirus is there, and sometimes he says, its power or strength is decreasing because it can't fight. He has weird theories. That the theory that the coronavirus doesn't like the cold and doesn't go to some places or whatever. So he's got amazing theories. A bit of a laugh. He can definitely create a podcast with his discussions. But no, he's.
You never know, some of them may be true because we still don't know exactly the ins and outs of this virus 100%. So you never know.
True.
Maybe.
But what was amazing is the
he'll get the last laugh, maybe.
Never know. What was amazing was that he took the shot, and he did tell me that he felt if he touches the spot where he got vaccinated, he feels the pain. It doesn't hurt, but you can feel the pain.
Yeah.
On the first day of the shot, and as the government tells you, that you will feel some kind of mild symptoms. And he said on the first day he felt a little bit
dizzy
and he
headache.
little bit of a
Sleepy.
headache and tired, fatigue.
Yeah.
And he did feel that. Some people don't feel it at all. And he was given this sheet by the Ministry of Health and Prevention, and it talks to you about what is this vaccine, and tells you more about this vaccine will be given in 2 doses. Who should not take the vaccine, and it clearly says people with uncontrolled chronic diseases should not take the vaccine, and pregnant women, if the baby is less than 6 months, is also another aspect. What happens if I experience any side effects due to the vaccine? They've given you the number to call, and by your confidentiality of your information. A lot of people have that concern. Ministry of Health says all personal information concerning you will be strictly kept confidential.
Yeah.
But the big news here is how well we've accomplished this. The fact that we've got vaccine centres across the country.
Indeed, across the country. And you noted how big the lines are in the neighboring emirate. But I've spoken to someone who's had the vaccine done in Ras Al Khaimah. They said there were no queues at all. Showed up in the morning.
We should go there.
Got it done rather quickly, in fact. And they make you wait for quite some time after taking the shot just to see you don't develop any immediate side effects, allergic reactions notably as well. And there's no shortage of options as well. For instance, the Emirate of Dubai, which operates its own health authority, has been vaccinating people over 60 and those with chronic conditions using the vaccine from Pfizer and BioNTech as well. And they're expected to make that particular one available to the general public in April. The current wait time for appointments is about 3 weeks. But the Sinopharm vaccine is widely available across the other emirates as well, and is already offered free of charge to any adult resident or citizen on the spot in many locations. And we, in fact, have had a conversation with a senior scientist with G42 who are responsible for the development and rollout of the Sinopharm vaccine. You could listen to that on our podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, or Apple Podcast. Just type in The Morning Majlis, because he talks to us in great detail about the Sinopharm vaccine in terms of worries about side effects, its efficacy, its effectiveness, and so much more.
And on a brighter note as well, the UAE health officials, top officials from the health sector, they have confirmed that the UAE will never run out of COVID-19 vaccine stock. So they have enough stock for the whole nation to cover the entire population, because again, they want to cover at least 50% of the population by the end of March. So nothing to worry about there. Go get vaccinated. The country will never run out of vaccines. Yeah,
that's what the official line has been. And during our discussion with G42 Healthcare as well, Dr. Walid Zahir, they also told us that they have enough vaccines for the whole population. And that also meant both the doses, not just the one dose. So we will be talking to you about greater detail. If you're one of those who's got themselves vaccinated and would like to share your story with us here on the Morning Majlis, do drop us a note on the text lines 4215, and do let us know with your name as well. And we would love to hear from you in terms of how you feel about getting yourself vaccinated. I think this weekend we saw a very, very busy surge in more and more people willing to get themselves vaccinated. So we'll really look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions on that. And with that, we'll take a bit of a break. We will return right after some musical entertainment here in Pulse 95. And then up next, we will be discussing all things Germany, because another person's been nominated to replace Angela Merkel as the new chairman of the political party. What's going on? All of this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
I'd like to hear Rania's intro to this in her English accents.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
You're going to put me on the spot.
Yeah.
You want me to do it like the way you say it?
Probably, yeah, you can try it.
Well, Germany's ruling CDU party picked Armin Laschet to be its new chairman on Saturday.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
Give you that.
I'm watching a lot of The Crown, that's why.
Oh, it makes sense. But they
Has
do
an
have,
effect on
but
me.
they do have a very House of Windsor accent, though.
Yeah,
They do
it's
have a-
totally different.
It's a lot of enunciating and a lot of little
Right?
things. Yes, I know.
Appreciation.
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 Yeah.
No, appreciation.
I don't feel appreciated.
Yeah, I don't feel
Appreciating.
appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
happens.
picked that up.
It's a very, very Windsor accent for sure. And the royal family.
How many accents are there in
the UK? A lot.
A lot of
lot
them.
regional accents for sure.
Each region has their own.
Yeah, almost each part of the
So you
country.
can tell where they're from just by
The
their
Liverpool
accent.
accent is distinctive. If someone's
Yeah.
a Scouse, or what do they call them?
Yeah, Scouts, what they call them. They call themselves. Yeah, I mean, there's different accents in different parts of the country. You know, even here in the Arab region, you could say, different countries have their own dialects and accents. So it happens. But we're staying with Germany now.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's stay with Germany.
The newly elected chairman
Yeah.
is currently the Prime Minister of Germany's North Rhine-Westphalia region, the most populous federal state in the country. He beat the conservative rival Friedrich Merz by 521 to 466 in a vote that was forced online due to the pandemic. So now we have a new party chairman for the ruling party CDU, Armin Laschet.
That's right. And he replaces, as chair of the party, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, who failed to live up to her billing as Merkel's appointed successor after taking office more than 2 years ago. Now, in September, Germany goes to the polls, but the leader of the party, CDU, is not guaranteed to become its candidate for chancellor. Health Minister Jens Spahn, who has been elected as one of Laschet's deputies, and Markus Söder, leader of the CDU's Bavarian sister party, the CSU, could hop into the ring. Though neither said they want the job. A final decision will be made this spring, but essentially Laschet is set to succeed Merkel in the upcoming election. He is a loyal supporter of hers and said during the campaign that a change of direction for the party would, quote, send exactly the wrong signal. In his victory speech, he said, I want to do everything so that we can stick together through this next year. And he is, in essence, he's pro-immigration. He touts himself as a continuity candidate, and he has been for quite some time thought to be Angela Merkel's preferred candidate as well. He's always been a defender of hers, whether it's the 2015 refugee crisis. He's known for his liberal politics, his passion for the EU, and immigration is really the big thing about him here. So the question is whether the CDU party will put him up as their new chancellor candidate in September's general elections.
He is also was first elected back in 1994 into the Bundestag, which is the German parliament, and now his election is seen as a continuation of Merkel's policies. And as we rightly pointed out, that he wants to keep the CDU firmly in the middle of society. With him as chairman, they're likely to press on the message of more climate change policies and environmental topics, and we can see that over in the United States. That's going to be resonated with John Kerry in charge for the climate change aspect. So really goes to show that the world leaders will now have a keen focus on that, and they're going to move away from the policies that we had seen from the United States over the last 4 years. Well, for now, we'll take a bit of a breather. We'll prepare for the world of sports headlines, courtesy of Emmanuel Majali, and we'll be back again here on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we have a bit of a discussion on how you should view life as a big marathon as well. What do we mean by that? Well, stay tuned to Pulse 95 right after the sports headlines. We'll be talking about that in greater detail. This is the Morning Majlis on Pulse 95.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Well, moving over to the United States and ahead of Joe Biden's inauguration on Wednesday, all 50 states and the District of Columbia are on high alert for possible violent protests. National Guard troops have been sent en masse to Washington, D.C. to deter any repeat of last week's deadly riots. The FBI has warned of possible armed marches by pro-Trump supporters at all 50 state capitals. And in the meantime, the Biden team has set out plans to reverse key Trump policies. So the expectations are that in the hours after Biden sets foot in the White House, there will be a slew of executive actions designed to signal a clean break from Trump's administration. And among the actions, according to reports, is the United States' return to the Paris Climate Agreement. That's a global pact on cutting carbon emissions. Biden will also reportedly repeal a controversial travel ban list and would also make mask wearing mandatory on federal property and when traveling interstate. And among the other changes Biden is set to introduce, those that will be eligible for vote for lawmakers are his $1.9 trillion stimulus plan and his plan on immigration reform.
Yeah, Michigan, Virginia, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Washington are among the states that have activated their National Guards to strengthen the security, while Texas took the step of closing its capital starting from Saturday through Inauguration Day. Now, also, Director of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Steve McCraw, said in a statement last Friday that intelligence indicated violent extremists, that's quoting him, may seek to exploit planned armed protest in Austin to conduct criminal acts. And the scramble follows, obviously, the deadly January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol in Washington by a mix of extremists and Trump supporters. Now, law enforcement officials have trained much of their focus on Sunday when the anti-government Boogaloo, as they call it, movement has flagged plans to hold rallies in all 50 states. Now, in Michigan, a fence was erected around the Capitol building in Lansing, and also troopers were mobilized from across the state to bolster security. The legislature nevertheless canceled meetings next week, citing concern over credible threats.
There's a joint intelligence bulletin, and that's a bulletin I'd like to work on. It's produced by the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and National Counterterrorism Center. They've warned that false narratives about electoral fraud would serve as an ongoing catalyst for these extremist groups. Thousands of armed National Guards troops were on the streets of Washington in an unprecedented show of force after the assault on the U.S. Capitol. Much of their focus has been on today. In fact, Sunday is still in the United States, so much of the focus is today, especially with the posts by the Boogaloo movement. And at the moment, what we do and are aware of is that all 50 U.S. states are expecting some form of resentment and violence, and they're prepared and they're on high alert. A man was arrested in Virginia during a security checkpoint after police said he presented an unauthorized inauguration credential. Whoa. See, this is a problem. And he had more than 500 rounds of ammunition, according to them, according to the police's inspection. So now this just goes to show, to what extent it is. As, us sitting here and abroad would be thinking maybe they're over-exaggerating. But the fact of the matter is, the fact that the challenge is because there's a lot of people who are armed in general.
Yeah.
And they also belong to the faction that would be pro-Trump, are the ones that are going to be a bit of a concern.
Certainly, and these tough measures follow a week in which Trump became the first U.S. president to be impeached twice. He now faces a Senate trial on a charge of, quote, incitement of insurrection linked to the storming of the U.S. Capitol by his supporters. They did so in a bid to thwart Congress from certifying Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election. And dozens of arrests have already been made in relation to that assault. Among the latest is a far-right media personality known as Baked Alaska. He's a live streamer. He was in the halls during this, and pretty much the FBI are using the footage to identify people and arrest them as well, and charge them with federal crimes, including violent entry, disorderly conduct as well. And different states have been taking a number of measures to prepare for any possible violence as well. But analysts believe that states that saw especially hostile or protracted election battles are at most of risk. And one of them, Michigan, has put together a 6-foot fence around its capital in Lansing as well. Their state's police director said, "We are prepared for the worst." That's what they are saying.
But what's happening right now, aside from this story, is President-elect Joe Biden unveiled the $1.9 trillion relief package on Thursday that included more stimulus payments and other direct aid. But Americans shouldn't expect to see those funds just anytime soon. But the earliest the money could start flowing is maybe mid-February to late February. And And also this massive plan, Biden's massive plan, includes several immediate relief items that are popular with a wide swath of Americans, including sending another $1,400 check in direct stimulus payments, extending unemployment benefits and also eviction protections, and also offering more help for small businesses. It also would boost funding for vaccinations by about $20 billion and for coronavirus testing by $50 billion. And also calls for making some larger structural changes as well, such as mandating a $15 hourly minimum wage. That's also expanding Obamacare premium subsidies and also broadening tax credits for low-income Americans for a whole year. As this is actually the first of two measures Biden has planned to right the nation's economy and fight the coronavirus. So he intends to announce a recovery strategy at his first appearance before a joint session of Congress next month.
So much to look forward to indeed, and we can see it from the tweets as well from the FBI, constant updates about someone being arrested, a man arrested in Florida for inciting violence, a man arrested in Texas for threats regarding events at the U.S. Capitol, another man arrested in New York charged with destroying property and obstruction of congressional proceedings. And the FBI continuously tweets images seeking information for assault on federal officers and violence at the United States Capitol with people's images, and just goes to show of how security has been beefed up as they're looking for more information surrounding those who are accused of storming the Capitol. Here on the Morning Majlis, we'll take a bit of a breather. We will let you enjoy the musical entertainment on offer, followed by an update in the Ugandan elections, as that has also garnered lots of attention across the globe. Stay with us. This is the Morning Majlis on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse